Hi, and welcome to Late to the Real. My name is Stephen, and this is a channel where I watch classic movies for the very first time and let you know what I thought about them. Go check out the previous videos, they're on the channel just now, of course, just after this one, and leave your thoughts on those reviews in the comments as well. In this video, as you can always, to reading some little information about four weddings and a funeral, here is what I found. The movie was released in 1994. It was directed by Mike Newell. The cast consisted of Hugh Grant, Andie MacDowell, Kristen Scott Thomas, Simon Callow, John Hannah, Rowan Atkinson, and Sophie Thompson. That's some of the names I recognise, some of the names I didn't recognise. Not being a movie buff, I don't recognise them all. The movie grossed £1.4 million on opening weekend in the UK, which was a record for a UK production. It would over It would overall gross £27.8 million in the UK and £52.7 million in the US and Canada. It would win a host of awards. For the BAFTA Awards, it won Best Film, Best Direction, Best Actor for Hugh Grant, and Best Supporting Actress for Kristen Scott Thomas. At the Golden Globes, it won Best Actor for Hugh Grant, and it also won a whole lot of other awards, like Best Foreign Films in like a load of different countries like Australia. So it won loads and loads of awards. And after reading all the expectations were kind of went through the roof. Thought this would be an absolute classic and would want to watch again and again. Turns out it was a bit of a one and done for me. I didn't hate the movie, but it didn't blow me away either, so let's get into it a little bit more. I enjoyed the first opening 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, I must be honest. I thought the humour was pretty good. The line, uh, the line, the bride looks like a big meringue made me chuckle. Another part that made me chuckle was the rings that ended up being used for the first wedding after Hugh Grant's character Charles forgot them after he slept in. Seemed to be a bit of a theme. One looked like a multicoloured kid's toy, and the other some sort of emperor would wear by the looks of it. But yeah, I did quite enjoy that. That did make me chuckle. The thread of the movie was the will they won't they relationship between Charles and Carrie. After some false starts, they end up sleeping together at the end of the first wedding. But Carrie needs to leave in the morning to go back to America. She is American. Uh, so it kind of didn't really like her character to begin with. It just felt like maybe using Charles, but also it kind of turns around. Uh, but yeah, pretty decent start to the movie. Next, we go to the second wedding of the film, which was Bernard and Lydia's. They get together at the last wedding, and Lydia initially turned him down until she got desperate towards the end of the night. A quick turnaround. It was pretty funny. Oh, the initial reaction was, "You'd be the last person on earth Lydia would sleep with. She would sleep with Bernard. Bernard would be the last person on earth." But obviously ended up nobody else wanted to sleep with her, so Bernard got it, and now 3 months later they're getting married. The ceremony was very awkward, which was not my type of thing at all, so I didn't really enjoy that bit. Yeah, I just kind I'm not really a fan of awkward comedy. But yeah, so it's like I kind of cringe at that sort of stuff, so this bit didn't really get me at all. But then Carrie reappears, much to the excitement of Charles at the reception, but then quickly disappears when she tells him that she's engaged. Some more attempts at awkward comedy during the best man speech, which just wasn't really for me, and it kind of kept going throughout the rest of the film, which kind of didn't really make it a classic for me, just the type of comedy that was on show. But I did find a little funny was when Charles tried to find somewhere quiet after a bad exchange with an ex, and then the newlyweds come in and basically, for the lack of a better term, bunk the night away, and he's hiding somewhere in the room. He eventually reveals himself, and the reveal was pretty funny, just like awkward and like a hello, and they just like they like got a look on themselves as like oh dear. So that did make me chuckle a little bit, but it's not as if it's big laugh out loud moments here. It's just little chuckles here and there. And then after Carrie leaving, initially she would return and Charles and Carrie would spend another night together despite her being engaged this time. Tap, 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 tap. But then this time it would be Charles doing the leaving. And yeah, I just kind of felt like I kind of knew where the film was going. Like it's a rom-com, like you know where the film is going towards the end. It's not one of these films where there's going to be a big twist at the end. But yeah, it's hard for me to get into these type of movies when you can see where it's going to end. Also, you just don't know how it's going to end. So that's where you try and find the enjoyment, but sometimes it's hard. A month later, it's actually Carrie getting married, but before the wedding, Charles, who ends up trying to find a wedding dress with Carrie, which was a bit weird, finally tells Carrie how he feels about her, but basically Carrie says no, knocks him back, says she's getting married to Hamish. Uh, then at the wedding, it just seems to be confession time. Fiona, who's one of Charles's pals, she confesses that she's been in love with him all along, but Charles doesn't feel the same way. Surely they should just figure all this out. If she loves him, he loves her, he loves a different person. Just figure it all out. But that would make a good movie, wouldn't it? That'd just be a bit boring. The big shocker of the movie is Gareth dying of a heart attack at the wedding. This was during the speeches. I obviously knew somebody was going to die at the with funeral being in the title, but didn't really suspect it was him until we started seeing close-ups of him sweating while he was dancing. But he was a bit larger man, so yeah, it was hard to jump to that conclusion. He just thought, oh, he's dancing a bit, but then he goes down with a heart attack and dies. Thought maybe it might have been Carrie's new husband Hamish on the night of the wedding. Would kind of fit the theme if they're consummating the marriage and he dies of a heart attack. That would kind of fit the type of humour that the awkward. Maybe a bit more dark humour now that I'm thinking about it, rather than awkward humour. But anyway, at Gareth's funeral, we'll not dwell on this part too long, but it was a lovely tribute from Matthew, who was played by John Hannah, who I think this was his breakout role. He's went on to do some really good things. So yeah, a lovely tribute from Matthew at Gareth's funeral. 10 months later, it's Charles getting married, but it's not to Carrie. It's to his ex-girlfriend Henrietta, which was a bit of a surprise. Henrietta seems a bit She seems one of them that's a bit stuck up herself and wants to demand things of people and bosses people around. That's the type of vibe I got from her. And just not a very nice person. Though you could argue Charles has got his flaws, but he's good-hearted anyway. Uh, but before the wedding, Carrie turns up and tells Charles that she's broken up with her husband. There's a plot twist, and Charles begins to doubt who she should be with. They spend loads of time in the back of the church debating whether to go ahead with the wedding. But then eventually decide to go ahead with it. But then Charles's brother, who's deaf, interrupts chaps, and then sign languages that and wants Charles to speak out what he's saying, and basically says that he shouldn't go ahead with the marriage because he's in love with someone else. And then a big right hook from Henrietta right to Charles, who Charles just goes and some hook on him. Wouldn't like to be on the one end of them. And yeah, so before Henrietta runs off, and that's that. Charles does not get married to Henrietta, which leaves us open for the storybook ending. Yep, they're all in the flat, and then Carrie comes to the flat to meet Charles. They go outside. It's absolutely pouring down with rain. I was going to say another P word there, but it's pouring with rain as usual in these films, and they're both getting soaking wet. And yeah, they speak for a little bit, and then they have their kiss, they have their moment, and they live happily ever after. They finally get together, and about damn time. So yeah, and we see photos of the end with everybody. I think it's Fiona who's with Prince Charles, uh, and we see Carrie and Charles with a baby. I think it's about a year or so down the line from what I can remember or read. But yeah, so and that's that. That is four weddings and a funeral. Overall, I thought the movie was fine. It certainly didn't live up to the hype that went into my head going in after reading about the background of it, like what had won, who was in it. Uh, it just felt more rommy than comedy, if that makes sense. It's just not really my type of movie. I'm. It's not bad. It's not a bad movie. The jokes didn't really evolve over the course of the movie for me. I understand why it was a success back in 1994. Uh, Most people love a will they won't they type of scenario, much like we saw with Ross and Rachel and Friends a few years later. But Four Weddings and a Funeral won't be a movie I'll go back to and watch again. Just no interested in that. But the thing is, I don't really have a bad thing to say about the movie. Like, obviously, I've got the awkward comedy that wasn't really for me. It was fine. Rom-coms aren't really my genre of movie, though I am open to watching more. So if you've got suggestions, stick them in the comments. Yeah, so overall, it was fine. I don't really have much thoughts on it, which is not really great for a YouTube video. It's just, yeah, it was fine. And it didn't really excite me. It didn't really bore me. Like, I wasn't bored watching it. Like, I was invested in seeing how Charles and Carrie ended up together. Didn't really think it would be that way. So, uh, yeah, so it only seems to seem to be in movies where you see somebody leaving their daughter or being ditched at the daughter. Apparently, I've certainly never experienced it in my life, but only it seems to be in movies that these things happen. The time for my rating, I'm going to give Four Funerals and a. Now, for my rating, I'm going to give Four Weddings and a Funeral a rating of 6 out of 10. No, I can't give it any higher than that because I didn't really enjoy it that much. But I can't, just because of the awkward comedy bits, but I can't really put it any lower than a 6 because there is not a lot wrong with it, to, to be honest. Like, as I said, it's a good solid story. Like, it's pretty different. Like, it's only about these people coming together for four weddings and a funeral. It's not really showing you anything else, apart from the little bit where Carrie and Charles are at the shop for a wedding dress, and then out in the street for where Carrie initially turns down Charles. But other than that, it's all about just four weddings at different times of the year. So yeah, it is a bit different the way it's laid out, so that was good. But other than that, yeah, I can't nitpick it because was nothing really to nitpick. For me, I can only really give it a 6 out of 10. So that's my reaction to Four Weddings and a Funeral. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this review, if you enjoyed the movie, what's your favourite part of the movie? Let me know. If you've enjoyed this review as well, hit that like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss another review in the future. That's a wrap from me, and I'll see you in the next one.